Ang tunay na pangalan ng mga tao, lugar at organisasyon sa liham na tampok sa palabas na ito ay pinilitan at pinago. Ang anumang pagkakahawig ng mga bagong pangalan sa aktwal na tao, lugar o organisasyon ay hindi sinasadya at nagkataon lamang.
Magandang araw mga consumer! Hindi lahat ng Pilipino ay mayroong trabaho na nakapagbibigay ng sobra sa kailangan ng pamilya. Marami sa atin, sakto lang ang kita para sa pangunahing pangangailangan gaya ng pagkain. Kaya naman, binibigyan natin ng halaga ang bawat kinikita natin. Nagbabudget upang kahit papaano, ito ay mapagkasya sa araw-araw. Dahil dito, bawat isa ay nakabantay sa paggalaw ng presyo ng bilihin. Ngayong araw, babasahin natin ang liham ng consumer na si Ginang Mendoza para sagutin ang kanyang tanong. Dear Consumer Care, ako ay isang labandera at ang asawa ko naman ay isang minimum wage earner. Mayroon po kaming 2 anak at masasabi kong kahit papaano na pagkakasya ko para sa aming pamilya ang aming kinikita. Para po ito ay mapagkasya, nagbabudget po ako. Kaya naman po alam ko kung nagtaas na ang presyo ng bawat bilihin dahil binabantayan ko itong mabuti. Itong nakaraang linggo, napansin ko na mas mahal na ang presyo ng shampoo na binibili ko. Maaari niyo po ba itong tingnan? At para sagutin ang tanong ni Ginang Mendoza, kasama natin ngayon si Mr. Adrian Echano ng Price and Supply Division ng Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau. Magandang araw po, Sir Adrian.
Magandang araw din, Dens, at sa mga consumers na patuloy na tumatangkilik sa ating programa.
Sir Adrian, tungkol sa concern ni Ginang Mendoza, ano po ang masasabi natin?
Alam mo, Dens, una sa lahat, ang shampoo ay hindi kasama sa mga itinuturing na basic necessities at prime commodities na binabantayan ng DTI.
Ganun po ba? Alin lamang po ba ang mga produktong binabantayan ng DTI?
Ang mga produktong binabantayan ng DTI ay mga sumusunod: canned fish, processed milk, kape, tinapay, instant noodles, asin, sabon panlaba, bottled water, kandila, canned meat, condiments tulad ng suka, toyo at patis, sabong pampaligo, baterya. Ang mga produktong ito ay itinakda ng Republic Act No. 7581 o Price Act.
May listahan po ba nito? Saan po makikita?
Oo, Dens. Ang tawag sa listahan na ito ay SRP Bulletin. Ito ay makikita sa website ng DTI, www.dti.gov.ph. Ang pinakahuling SRP na ay inilathala ng DTI noong 11 ng Mayo ngayong taon.
Bukod po sa listahan ng produkto, ano pa po ang nakapaloob sa ating mga SRP bulletin?
Nakapaloob dito ang mga brands, grammage, at ang suggested retail price ng mga ito. Kaya naman ito ay maaaring gamiting pamantayan sa pagbabudget ng mga ilaw ng tahanan.
Kung ang produkto naman pong bibilhin ay nasa SRP bulletin, subalit ito ay binebenta ng higit sa nakasaad dito, maaari po ba itong isumbong?
Maaaring i-report ng consumer ang tindahan o business establishment sa DTI Fair Trade Enforcement Bureau kung nasa Metro Manila po kayo. Kung nasa probinsya naman po, maaari pong mag-email sa DTI Regional or Provincial Offices. Pakilagay po ang kumpletong detalye ng inyong reklamo, impormasyon ng tindahan, gaya ng address, email address at telephone number, at maglakip ng patunay ng inyong transaksyon. Makikita rin sa www.dti.gov.ph ang proseso ng pag-file ng complaint.
Kaya naman sa ating mga consumer, maging mapanuri at matalino sa pagbili. Ugaliing tingnan ng SRP kung mamimili ng pangunahing bilihin. Maraming salamat, Sir Adrian.
Maraming salamat din, Dens.
At yan ang kabuuan ng ating programa sa araw na ito. Paalala lamang po ng impormasyong aming naibigay ay base lamang sa aming natanggap na salaysay at mga pangyayari na inilahad ni Ginang Mendoza. Abangan muli ang Dear Consumer Care sa susunod na linggo. Para sa updates, please like, follow, subscribe to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube accounts. That's DTI Consumer Care and DTI Philippines. Hindi natin dapat hayaan ang mga nananamantala na makuha ang pinagtrabahuhan nating halaga na dapat ay para sa pamilya. Kaya naman maging mapanuri at gamiting gabay ang SRP Bulletin mula sa DTI. Ito po si Denzel Bonal na nagsasabing, wais ang consumer na may alam.
Happy Tuesday po to all our participants. Sa mga nakatutok po sa atin dito sa Zoom, to everyone joining us live via DTI Consumer Care Facebook and DTI Philippines YouTube. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. You can still invite your friends and colleagues to join this webinar. Para po sa ating bagong participants, ang DTI Consumer Care Webinar Series ay inilunsad ng Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau upang makapagbigay ng kaalaman tungkol sa mga napapanahong topic na makakatulong sa atin para tayo maging wais, mapanuri at malayang mamimili. I am Glyza Onyate po from the Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Every year, the country celebrates Consumer Welfare Month or CWM throughout October under Presidential Proclamation Number 1098 Series of 1997. The month-long celebration aims to promote consumer awareness and disseminate consumer information on policies and programs affecting consumer welfare. In support of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 12, Sustainable Consumption and Production or SCP, and to heighten the DTI's advocacy initiatives on SCP, this year's celebration will carry the theme Gen S or Generation Sustainable. Now for our 245th webinar session this morning, our topic is about sustainable consumption and production in the Philippines. Kaya naman bago po tayo magsimula, we would like to give some reminders. Unang-unang ating webinar session po ay recorded. By continuing your participation in the meeting, you are also consenting that you may be recorded. We are encouraging you to stay at samahan niyo po kami hanggang matapos at sabay-sabay tayong matuto sa topic natin ngayong umaga. Ang mga sumusunod na reminders naman po ay para masiguro na smooth ang ating webinar session. Una, pakipalitan ng inyong pangalan. Ang format ng inyong pangalan, maaaring consumer, space, full name, o di po kaya ay pangalan ng company then your complete name. Kung masyadong mahaba naman po ang pangalan ng company, kahit acronym na lamang po ang gamitin. Pangalawa, please turn off your mic during the webinar session unless you are requested by the moderator to speak. Pangatlo, para sa mga tanong, we are encouraging everyone to click the raise hand button to directly address the speaker during the question and answer portion, or you may send in your questions through the chat box. At panghuli, para po sa mga naka-touch screen device, please avoid drawing or making annotations on the screen para hindi po ma-distract ang ating speaker at iba pang participants. Without further ado, let us begin this webinar session by singing the Philippine National Anthem to be followed by the invocation.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing as we are gathered together in this webinar. May your blessings of wisdom and guidance be upon us all through the sharing and impartation of knowledge and skills by our resource speakers, facilitators, and moderators. Bless also the participants so that they would be able to glean the information from this activity and share what we have learned in the spirit of your generosity. Lord, we bring you our prayers, our commitment, our gifts to you this day. Let us who have a keen dedication and awareness of your creation have courage and conviction that we are able to contribute to the sustainability of the earth. Inspire us as we make choices so that we will recognize the impact our lives have on our environment and our human family around the globe. Pour out your blessing upon us today, Lord. May each of our actions reveal our awareness that we are partners with you in the creation and sustainability of this earth that you have given to us to appreciate and enjoy. We ask this in the name of your Son. Amen.
Good morning po ulit sa ating participants. Before we proceed with our session, we would like to invite our participants to subscribe to our DTI 1384 SMS upang makatanggap ng important reminders and updates mula sa DTI Consumer Protection Group for free. Scan lang ang QR code na nakalagay sa inyong mga screens. Again, this service is free of charge. Tulad po ng nabanggit kanina, our topic this morning is sustainable consumption and production in the Philippines. Relative to the topic, the National Economic Development Authority or NEDA acts as the Sustainable Development Goals Secretariat of the Philippines. As the Secretariat, it reviews, monitors, and coordinates the alignment of the country's policies to the SDGs. The NEDA developed of the Philippine Action Plan for SCP or PAP for SCP to influence and steer sustainable practices and behavior across sectors and levels of government. The PAP for SCP follows a whole of society and whole of government approach and envisions more Filipinos producing and consuming green goods and services to accelerate the shift to the adoption of sustainable and climate-smart practices and lifestyle. To introduce our speaker for today, we are very fortunate to have with us this morning a very capable speaker from the National Economic and Development Authority. Director Natural joined the government right after graduation and has been a public servant ever since. She earned her Master's of Public Administration at the University of the Philippines National College of Public Administration and Governance and the Diploma in Development Studies in Massey University in New Zealand. She also earned her undergraduate degree at the University of the Philippines, Manila with Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences. NEDA ANRES acts as oversight for agriculture and fisheries sectors and matters pertaining to the environment and natural resources. Let us all welcome the Director of the Agriculture, Natural Resources and Environment Staff, the National Economic and Development Authority, Director Neva T. Natural. Morning po, Director Neva. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Glyza, and to the participants of the webinar. Isang makakalikasang umaga sa ating lahat. Let me first extend our gratitude to the Department of Trade and Industry for inviting NEDA in today's session of the Consumer Care webinar series. Today, we are pleased to present the Philippine Action Plan for Sustainable Consumption and Production, or PAP for SCP, which serves to be a timely and significant blueprint towards greening our consumption patterns. My presentation will follow this outline. First, we will look into the general factors affecting consumer preferences. What drives our choices? Why do we prefer one item over another? Then we will go over some of the facts and figures on our domestic consumption and its trend over the years. Next, I will introduce relevant concepts that we need to keep in mind as we transition to more sustainable practices, particularly the fundamentals behind circular economy and sustainable consumption and production. This will be followed by the salient features of the PAP for SCP and its key priority actions and policy reforms that will advance sustainable consumption and production across sectors and enable our country's transition to circular economy. Lastly, I will discuss on how we can all become more responsible consumers and shift to more sustainable choices and greener lifestyles and practices. Next. Let me first start off by defining what is consumption. The textbook definition of consumption would refer to an act of fulfilling current needs and wants for personal use, and that consumer is the one acquiring goods and services for direct use and ownership. Basically, all of us here are considered as consumers, given that we are consuming many things each day, such as our basic needs like food and even for leisure and entertainment. In macroeconomics, we would often encounter consumption as a part of the gross domestic product equation, such that the GDP is a function of consumption, government expenditure, investments, and net export. Thus, consumption is an essential part of a country's economic performance. But of course, preferences also play a crucial role in determining what we would like to consume. Thus, in the succeeding slide, I will go over some of the factors which affect our preferences. Multiple studies have been conducted to determine the factors affecting the behavior, particularly of the youth, in consuming green goods and services. Most of them utilize the theory of consumption values to aid their study. But what is this theory all about? The consumption values theory serves as the foundation for validating the elements that impact consumer decision behavior. The theory states that behavior is influenced by functional, social, emotional, conditional, and epistemic values. Functional value looks at the utility of the performance. For instance, the decision to buy a vacuum cleaner depends on its specs and mechanisms to efficiently clean all the cat fur or probably the hard to reach dust in the house. Social value looks at association. An example of this is when your favorite artist, say a K-pop idol or actors, advertises a specific brand, you become more inclined to buy from the same brand. For example, if you are an army, yung mga fans ng BTS dyan, or Lee Min Ho, or Park Soo Joon, so mga Korean actors, If they are endorsing a specific product, those who like them tend to buy that particular product. Third is emotional value, refers to a product's capacity to induce emotions and feelings to the buyer. Nostalgia branding is a good case for this. You buy the specific biscuit because it would probably remind you of your childhood, or this product can be one of your Lola's favorite snacks. Fourth, epistemic value is when the product or service arouses curiosity or satisfies desire for knowledge, example of which can be attributed to choosing or trying a certain skincare product to determine its effectivity or suitability on your skin type. And lastly, conditional value, it is perceived when a specific situation faces the choice maker. A more nuanced case that presents this is buying popcorn at the cinema theaters. Now, let me provide you with an overview of the Philippines' current position, particularly within the ASEAN, in terms of material footprint and domestic material consumption. So ano ba yung material footprint? It is a consumption-based indicator of resource use, whereas domestic material consumption is an environmental pressure indicator which reflects the average level of material use in a national economy, including extracted raw materials and imports. In 2019, the Philippines recorded 8.77 tons per capita for material footprint and 8.21 tons per capita for material consumption. Through the years, both of these indicators have been exhibiting an increasing trend, which suggests that the country has been extracting more resources to meet the demands of the Filipinos. In terms of expenditure, we saw a decline in the final household consumption in the Philippines in 2020 with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, which led to community quarantines being imposed all over the country. However, with the ease of restrictions in the succeeding years, there has been an observed increase in the household consumption expenditure, which spiked up in 2021 and 2022. So bumalik na ulit yung consumption pattern, especially noong 2022, people started going out, going on travels, going to restaurants and all. So focusing on the household consumption for last year, Filipino households were recorded to be spending 38% on food and non-alcoholic beverages, followed by miscellaneous goods and housing, water, electricity, and gas. With the increase in our household consumption comes various challenges that affect our environment. One of the persisting challenges in line with this is the increase in our solid waste. So majority of municipal solid waste, or around 56.7%, is generated in residential areas, followed by commercial markets at 27.1%. As to the composition of waste, half of which is biodegradable, particularly coming from food waste. This is then followed by recyclables, comprising of plastic, paper, metal, glass, textile, and leather and rubber. In the coming years, the World Bank notes that waste generation is expected to increase further along with rapid urbanization, while the National Solid Waste Commission projects an aggregate total of 23.6 million tons of waste by 2025. On top of this, environmental deterioration has also become a long-standing challenge of our country. To illustrate, some of these challenges include mismanaged plastic waste. If continued to be mismanaged, waste generation may reach 24 million tons in 2025, and around 20% of this waste end up in different waterways. Higher numbers are expected with increasing population without a programmatic intervention. We also noticed that plastic waste also causes flooding, especially in the metro areas. Another concern is the country's high vulnerability level against climate change and disasters. The Philippines ranked first in the World Risk Index in 2021. As part of the country's climate change adaptation and mitigation measures, the Philippines committed a 75% reduction in cumulative emissions until 2030, internationally determined contribution. We are also experiencing water shortages with a lower than average per capita water storage capacity of 68 cubic meters in 2017. Meanwhile, the proportion of degraded land over total area reached 49.44% in 2019. Coral reefs in the country account for 593 species of hard corals and are home to 1,883 fish species. However, they are exposed to various threats and pressures, leading to ecosystem degradation and decrease in fisheries production. The current state of Philippine environment necessitates changes back to our consumption and production patterns, which we hope to facilitate by shifting to circular economy pathways and adopting more sustainable consumption and production practices. Now we move, before we proceed, I think it would be important for all of us to level off on important concepts, which will be repeatedly mentioned in the succeeding slides. Let me start with the term sustainable consumption and production. The Oslo Symposium in 1994 defined SCP as the use of services and related products which respond to basic needs and bring a better quality of life while minimizing the use of natural resources and toxic materials, as well as the emissions of waste and pollutants over the life cycle of the service or product so as not to jeopardize the needs of future generations. Further, the United Nations Environment Program, or UNEP, also defined SCP as the holistic approach to minimizing the negative environmental impacts from consumption and production systems while promoting quality of life for all. One of SCP's main goals is to decouple economic growth and environmental degradation. Based on studies, our current economic system can be considered as linear, that is, built on a model of extracting raw materials from nature, turning them into products, and then discarding them as waste. So, to summarize, it's produce, use, and throw away or dispose. Currently, only 7.2% of used materials are cycled back into our economies after use. This puts a significant burden on the environment and contributes to the climate, biodiversity, and pollution crisis. According to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, CE is a systemic approach to economic development that is regenerative by design and aims to gradually decouple growth from the consumption of finite resources. CE is in contrast to the take, make, waste linear model, as this approach leans more in the circular system of producing goods. It works by extending product lifespan through improved design and servicing and relocating waste from the end of the supply chain to the beginning. In effect, using resources more efficiently by using them over and over and not only once. Now, let me clarify the similarities and differences between these two concepts. Circular economy overlaps and is closely intertwined with SCP. Both SCP and CE are based on life cycle thinking, aimed at systemic changes in the current linear production and consumption patterns. One key difference between the two is that SCP addresses broader concerns such as social norms, culture, and affluence to change consumption patterns and shift preferences toward green goods and services. On the other hand, CE focuses more on technology and business solutions to reduce waste and residuals and achieve circularity of use and of materials and resources. Next, as I have already introduced SCP and CE, let me now focus more on the PAP for SCP. The formulation of the PAP for SCP is anchored on our country's commitment to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. In September 2015, the Philippines was among the UN member countries that adopted the 2030 Agenda and the 17 global goals. Even prior to the adoption of the SDGs, SCP has been at the forefront of global commitments towards sustainable development. One of the critical SDGs is SDG 12, or the responsible consumption and production. In fact, SDG 12 is the most interlinked goal as it is interconnected with nearly all of the global goals, notably SDGs 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 3, Health and Well-being, SDG 6, Clean Water and Sanitation, SDG 7, Clean Energy, SDG 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, SDG 11, Sustainable Cities, SDG 13, Climate Action, SDG 14, Life Below Water, SDG 15, Life on Land, and SDG 17, Partnerships. SCP, therefore, is pivotal as its achievement will deliver not only SDG 12, but can also contribute to the achievement of other global goals directly or indirectly. With all these considerations, the NEDA led the formulation of the PAP for SCP through the assistance of the Asian Development Bank and through a multi-stakeholder approach. The plan now serves as a guiding framework to influence and steer sustainable behavior and practices across sectors and levels of government through programmatic policy reforms and set of actions, including circular economy approaches over the short 2022 to 2023, medium term 24 to 2030, and long term 2031 up to 2040. Embedded in this action plan are circular economy interventions that can offer opportunities for green recovery by reusing and recycling to extend the useful life of products and reducing the greenhouse gas emissions generated from our take, make, waste, extractive economy, which heavily relies on fossil fuels. Now, let's go to the strategic framework. The vision of the action plan's strategic framework is aligned and will contribute to realizing the Ambition Natin 2040, or the Philippines' long-term vision of having a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life for all. The PAP for SCP laid down priority reforms toward achieving its goal of having more Filipinos and producers, consumers and producers prefer green goods and services to accelerate the shift towards sustainable and climate smart practices and lifestyles. We intend to achieve this goal by institutionalizing natural capital accounting, determining ecological limits and negative externalities in our development activities, increasing innovation and investment in the development of green technologies and systems or practices, and establishing sustainable allocation of natural resources and equitable sharing of benefits from these resources. Overall, the PAP4 SCP provides a holistic and integrated approach pursuing the adoption and development of low carbon and resource efficient and green technologies, as well as circular economy solutions to help a shift towards climate smart practices and lifestyles and towards a sustainable future. The action plan covers all sectors of society and considers the interplay of economic, social, and environmental dimensions as we implement our commitments under the SDGs. I will now then proceed with the priority actions in the PAP4 SCP. These are categorized into four nodes, namely policy and regulation, research and development, innovation and technology, infrastructure, and promotion and education. In the succeeding slides, I will be discussing these priority actions related to circular economy, which will entail participation and commitment of different stakeholders, but especially you, as consumers. Equally important are the resources to support and sustain the implementation process, including adequate financing, capacity building, and availability of technology, among others. Institutionalizing mechanisms that will facilitate food waste reduction across households, food establishments, food distributors, and supermarkets through food donation and distribution platforms and network food banks and community pantries and community composting linked with urban agriculture initiatives. So under this policy and regulation node, the priority actions are as follows. One is to implement the Extended Producer Responsibility Act through waste recovery programs. Second, enact new policies on food waste management and electronic waste management. According to research by the DOST, Food and Nutrition Research Institute, around 1,717 metric tons of food are wasted daily in the country. Rice, vegetables, and meat are the most wasted foods among households. Also, according to the Philippine Rice Research Institute, an estimated 7.2 billion pesos worth of rice is wasted in the Philippines annually. Each consumer in the country wastes at least 2 tablespoons of rice a day, and the wastage can feed over 2 million annually. There are already pending bills which aim to strengthen food waste management, and these are being pursued in the legislative. Third is to strengthen and legislate green public procurement. Currently, the GPP program, or Green Public Procurement of Government, is guided by Executive Order 301, Series of 2004. While awaiting legislation, LGUs may consider implementing their own GPP programs. For instance, Quezon City LGU adopted its own GPP ordinance in 2022, mandating the inclusion of environmental criteria in the technical specifications for the city government's procurement of goods, services, and infrastructure. Fourth is to enact local green building ordinances. In this case, only a few LGUs, such as Pasig City and Quezon City, already adopted their own green building ordinances. Hence, other LGUs are encouraged to adopt their own policies consistent with the Green Building Code. In addition, local building officials may undergo training programs that are provided by the DPWH and to enhance their capacities in implementing and ensuring green building standards. Lastly, we have to strengthen the integration of spatial approach in local development planning to ensure more prudent use of land and natural resources and optimize economic, social, and environmental benefits. This can be reflected in the spatial development frameworks of regional development plans, provincial development and physical framework plans, and comprehensive land use plans of cities and municipalities. Under R&D, innovation, and technology node, the priority actions are undertake carrying capacity assessments of urban tourism and protected areas. This will help us determine the ecological limits that can be supported within a given ecosystem and inform local development plans with estimated limits and thresholds that may be considered in setting land use policies and regulating development activities and interventions. NEDA regional offices in CAR and Calabarzon already completed two urban carrying capacity assessments in Baguio and Tagaytay City in 2019 and 2021. PNR has also conducted a carrying capacity study of Boracay Island, Aklan in 2018, which guided the rehabilitation efforts in the island. Similar assessments in the future may be guided by existing manuals developed by government. So right now, the NEDA has developed a manual on the conduct of urban carrying capacity assessment in the Philippines and a manual on computing carrying capacity of ecotourism sites in protected areas was done by DNR. LGUs may be provided with capacity building interventions which will enable them to properly use these manuals in conducting such assessments. So 2 weeks ago, we conducted a training for LGUs on urban carrying capacity assessment. Second is to develop and adopt green technologies and circular economy solutions such as prototyping, pilot testing, and fabrication of green technologies. Third, complete baseline information on waste generation and management. Fourth, create sustainable business models that include creating and scaling up business models for waste minimization, such as refilling stations for fast-moving consumer goods as an alternative to the buy and dispose or sachet approach, and use of secondary raw materials or recycled materials. For example, paper, plastics, glass cullets, and other construction and demolition waste for production. Fifth, develop a life cycle analysis program for products to measure the environmental impact of a product or service throughout its life cycle. And six, support the transition to clean energy, including emerging renewable energy sources. So conduct cost benefit analysis and value engineering or value analysis of emerging renewable energy sources, for example, ocean wave energy, tidal energy, and ocean thermal energy. Next, under the infrastructure node, the priority actions are as follows. Scale up the establishment of necessary waste management facilities. To do this, we need to increase public and private investments to establish and scale up storage, collection, treatment, recovery, and disposal facilities of solid hazardous waste, including clinical or medical waste and e-waste. The LGUs play a crucial role in scaling up such facilities as they are expected to perform devolved functions on waste management. Second, establish more rainwater harvesting water impounding, and wastewater treatment facilities. This will support water resource management and conservation measures, which is an integral part of achieving SCP. So this is particularly relevant nowadays with the onset of El Nino. So we will have water shortage perhaps towards the end of the year. So we must strive to conserve water and perhaps reuse some of this water so that we will conserve. Third is implement sustainable multimodal transport mobility solutions. This include developing green public transportation and implementing choice influencing strategies such as car sharing, bike sharing, pedestrian friendly walkways to create green and walkable cities and communities. Fourth, provide support to refurbish and construct green public infrastructure. This is to ensure that government buildings or public facilities and tourism infrastructure are green and energy efficient based on established standards. Fifth, set up information and communication technology infrastructure and utilize green informatics, including Internet of Things. And lastly, develop applications to estimate carrying capacity and environmental impact of activities. Next. Under the promotion and education node, the following are the priority actions. Develop campaigns and disseminate information on sustainable lifestyles. Strengthen school-based environmental campaigns, events, and competitions. Develop training programs to implement and monitor green public procurement. And fourth, implement updated training programs for technical education and skills development of workers. So consistent with PDP Chapter 15 priorities, the implementation of the Green Jobs Human Resource Development Plan will be prioritized, including the provision of support and training opportunities. Next. Critical to the implementation of the action plan is, of course, financing. The plan will be implemented through support from various public and private financing modalities. So these funds are established through our existing laws and policies such as the Environmental Quality Management Funds, including air quality, water quality, and solid waste management funds, and under the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Second, Renewable Energy Trust Fund under the Department of Energy. We also have the Department of Science and Technologies Grants in Aid program, which provides grants for the implementation of R&D initiatives along priority areas identified in the Harmonized National Research Development Agenda. Innovation Fund, established pursuant to the provisions of the Philippine Innovation Act, RA 11293, which aims to strengthen entrepreneurship and enterprises engaged in developing innovative solutions. The Department of Finance and the BSP have also recently launched the Philippine Sustainable Finance Roadmap and Guiding Principles. There are also international financing facilities that can be tapped to support initiatives on SCP, such as the Global Environment Facility, the Green Climate Fund, and the 10-year framework of program or 10YFP Trust Fund, among others. Moving on, the Philippine government aims to increase the programming of green and sustainable investments from public and private sources to accelerate the development and adoption of green technologies and solutions for resource efficiency, waste minimization, and development of innovative solutions and business models to foster sustainable livelihoods and create more green jobs. But while PAP for SAP is anchored on a whole of society approach, a significant component of these efforts also include a shift towards sustainable lifestyles and practices. Individually, we can make changes that can contribute towards the realization of these outcomes. We advocate for the following visible changes which we can adopt in our own households, offices, and even in our respective communities. Next, some examples. First is on energy conservation. The DOE's E-Power Mo and Save campaign highlights key tips to conserve energy use. For instance, on lighting products, did you know that simple actions such as using 7 watts LED bulbs, turning off lights when not needed, and using natural lighting when available can result in as much as 50% savings on electricity consumption? For air conditioners, using inverter type air conditioner instead of the conventional ones can result in significant savings. Setting the thermostat at 25 degrees results in 3 to 5% savings, and cleaning air filters and condensers regularly also results in 5% savings. Second is on water conservation. So yung nasa picture, wag po natin gayahin. Gagamit tayo dapat ng ah, bin or yung basin. Wag nating hayaang mag-overflow yung tubig such when we are brushing our teeth. So gagamit tayo ng glass of water, buying new water-efficient toilet bowls, discarding leftover food before washing the dishes, and using basin when washing them, and washing clothes at once and not allowing the water in the wash basin to overflow. Also, reusing the water that we use for laundry to flush toilets, clean the car, and or water the garden plants. Collecting rainwater with pails and basins and storing it for future use, or watering of plants and cleaning the house. Third is composting. Sabi ko nga kanina, a lot of the solid waste is generated in the household. So majority of that is food waste. So we can compost, turn the kitchen scraps into compost, and we can set up our own composting bin. So from the garbage to garden. Next. To be mindful of what clothes we wear. The number of new garments made per year has nearly doubled over the past 20 years, and our global consumption of fashion has increased by 400%. The fast fashion industry is a significant contributor to climate crisis, responsible for as much as 10% of global carbon emissions. With this, let us shift instead to slow fashion, which means buying better quality clothing that can last us for years. Being conscious of textiles and their treatment to animals and environment, reusing clothes for second wear, repairing when possible, or even buying ukay-ukay. As one of the secondhand shops say, we can make secondhand your first choice. We can also opt for greener modes of transport. Fossil fuel transport emissions only contribute greenhouse gases, smog, soot, and other harmful air pollution. So we can walk, bike, carpool, or use public transportation. If you're in the market for a new car, opt instead for an electric car. Consider the most sustainable mode of transport available to you. Next is to avoid single-use plastics. Bring eco bags, use paper straws, or not use straws at all. Pwede naman. Bring your own tumbler. If you're taking your coffee to go, reuse those paper bags and gift wrappers you received during birthdays and Christmas. There are many doable consumption practices we can adopt and practice. It is indeed our collective responsibility to operationalize the PAP for SCP and its priority actions to build a sustainable future for each Filipino. So next Since NEDA is at the forefront of promoting SCP, we have also implemented the following initiatives to demonstrate NEDA's commitment to sustainability and circular economy. So kung baga po, we must walk the talk. We issued Office Circular number 04/2020 on the implementation of sustainable and climate smart practices, which aims to implement sustainable and climate smart practices in the workplace, reduce NEDA's ecological footprint by reducing energy and water consumption, maximize resource efficiency, cut down waste generation, and improve waste management. So we also participated in the and launched the Clean and Dry Plastics Upscaling Program. It is a continuing activity which is led by ANRES, our group, which commenced in August 2022 as a product of partnership forged during the 2022 Earth Day celebration with the Green Ants Builders. The program has already generated a total of 116 bags or approximately 297.5 kilos of plastic waste, which will then be processed into high-value products, such as different types of construction and infrastructure materials. So eco pavers, pavement bricks, eco cast and eco bricks, school chairs, furniture, among others. We also practice bokashi composting within ANRES, and we also introduced this to the NEDA community. This technique aims to properly manage food waste. From April 2022 to date, we were able to divert at least 100 liters of food waste as bokashi compost for Barangay San Antonio's Urban Garden. So yung sobra po naming food ay kina-convert namin through bokashi composting, and we donate this to Barangay San Antonio where the NEDA office is located. In addition, ANRES continues to encourage all NEDANs to shift to healthier and more sustainable lifestyles and practices. We also received custody and ownership of 8 bicycles that were distributed to employees and outsourced personnel. So yun lamang po. Siguro pakita natin yung link. So if you would like to access the PAP for SCP, you can browse through the NEDA website. Visit the NEDA website in the link shown on the screen. For questions and clarifications, you may send an email to Natural Resources Division under ANRES. Ayan po yung aming address. So thank you very much. Back to you, Glyza.
Thank you for the informative presentation, Director Natural. And good morning po ulit sa ating participants here in Zoom and to everyone joining us via DTI Consumer Care Facebook and DTI Philippines YouTube. Let us now proceed po with our question and answer portion. A short reminder lang po sa ating mga participants na to stay muted unless you are addressing the speaker and or moderator directly. Please be also informed na makakapag-download po kayo ng copy ng presentation material after you accomplish the client satisfaction feedback form that will be posted in the chat box section. At para naman po mas maging interactive ang ating question and answer portion, we encourage everyone to click the raise hand button so we can call you to ask directly to our speaker. Pwede rin pong isend ang inyong questions sa chat box. Habang wala pa pong nag-raise hand, magbabasa po muna ako ng questions from the chat box po. For our first question po, Director, what are the biggest challenges in implementing the Philippine Action Plan for Sustainable Consumption and Production?
Like I mentioned earlier, this entails behavioral change, and alam naman natin na changing behavior, mahirap talaga yan. It's like it will take years perhaps to change the lifestyles of people, to adapt yung mga mga practices that will, for example, minimize yung waste generated natin, di ba? So it will start perhaps with ourselves sa own household natin. Pwede nating gawin kasi sabi ko nga kanina, more than 50% of the waste, solid waste ay nasa household level, di ba? And half of that is also food waste. So yun lang, siguro that can help a lot yung bawa yung mga mahilig dito sa mga anli-anli. Diba yung mga mga ano diyan, may tendency kasi doon na marami yung kukuhanin tapos hindi naman kayang ubusin. So try to avoid those, mag-a la carte na lang. Para yung sakto lang nakakainin natin.
Yes po,
Yun.
Thank you po, Director. For our next question po, how does NEDA harmonize various efforts of the relevant agencies and stakeholders in the implementation of the PAP4 SCP framework?
Okay. So, NEDA as an oversight agency, ano nga kami, recently, we sent out a request to the various agencies kasi they were part naman of crafting the PAC4 SCP, yung short, medium, and long term. So, we asked them to submit to us yung accomplishments for the 2022 and 2023 and to reconfirm their targets for the succeeding years of implementation. So tingin ko naman, very cooperative naman, especially yung mga kasamahan natin sa DNR, kayo sa DTI, where you're also part of the government agencies that helped us craft the PAP4 SCP.
Thank you po, Director. For our next question po, how does NEDA ensure that there are action plans related to the promotion of SCP at the municipal or city level? How did NEDA localize the action plan and ensure both horizontal and vertical policies coherence?
We started this year with orienting yung aming counterparts sa region. So NEDA regional offices, last month nag-conduct kami ng briefing for them para yung aming mga regional development plans which they are working on ay ma-incorporate yung PAP4 SCP. So ganun po yung ginagawa naming strategy kasi maliit lang yung unrest so konti lang kami. So to help us out with the rollout, we ask the help of our regional offices.
Thank you po, Director. We encourage everyone po to click the raise hand button if you have questions po to Director Natural. Okay po, sige po. Proceed na lang po tayo sa ating questions. For next question po, ano pong masasabi niyo sa concern na ang sustainable products ay mas mahal sa pangkaraniwang produkto?
Okay. Sige. Ano yan siguro titimbangin natin merong nabibili tayo na mga produkto na sabihin na natin hindi matibay versus yung produkto na mahal pero mas matagal nating magagamit. For instance, yung mga sapatos, di ba? Sapatos. Araw-araw nating ginagamit yung sapatos So, pag hindi matibay yung binili natin, mura nga, pero mamaya lang, sira na. Versus, pag bumili ka ng mas durable, medyo mahal siya, initial investment mo mahal, pero taon ang bibilangin mo, ma-enjoy mo yung sapatos na yon. So yun lang siguro, parang choices na gagamitin natin. Halimbawa rin, mga appliances. Meron tayong mabibili na appliances na mura lang, pero mamaya nasunog na. Parang isang gamit mo lang nasunog na versus yung durable na branded siguro na appliance, mas ma-enjoy mo siya for a longer time and hindi yung pagkabili mo in a few months sira na siya. So bibili ka ulit. In the long run, pag ganun yung parang sort of parang disposable yung nabili mo, mas magagastusan ka.
Ayun. Thank you po, Director. For our next question naman po, meron po bang policy on electronic waste management?
Wala pa, no? Right, Jane, wala pang electronic waste management.
Ayun po.
Wala pa tayo.
Sige.
Pero nakikita ko naman na, for example, merong mga establishments na nagre-retrieve, like yung nakita ko sa SM, nagko-collect sila ng mga used mobile phones. Siguro sinasalvage nila yung mga parts and this is being recycled. Pero as a policy, we'll check pero wala pa akong na-encounter.
Okay po. Thank you po, Director. We encourage po ulit our participants to click the raise hand button if you have questions po to Director Natural. Sige po, wala po raise hand. For next question po, our growing population po is also becoming one of our challenges since tumataas din po ang waste generation and resource consumption. How can we take this in consideration po kaya in terms of planning and future initiatives?
Okay. So, tinake into consideration naman natin yan, no? Doon sa aking introduction na sinasabi natin as the population grows, dumadami yung waste generated. So, ano yung pwede nating gagawin? So, maging conscious tayo about minimizing yung diversion ng waste. So, yun nga, yung examples kanina, yung household waste, pwedeng i-compose para hindi tayo, di ba nagiging problem natin before yung naghahanap tayo ng mga landfill sa Metro Manila halimbawa, nakarating na ata ng sinarado na yung Payatas at saka yung dating yung sa May Tondo na landfill. So, pag ganun at ganun ang ating practice, mauubusan na tayo ng pagtatapunan. So the best way is to minimize yung waste natin na generate. Tapos we also have yung EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. Ito naman ay para doon sa mga big companies. So dun sa EPR law, they are mandated para i-retrieve nila yung mga waste generated nila as a company. Kasi nung nag-profile or nag-waste characterization, nakita na ang dami ng mga halimbawa, yung nagbabara sa mga waterways, mga sachet, mga PET bottles, mga ganyan, mga even kami nung yung NEDA may one time na para Earth Day ba yun? Nagpunta kami sa coastal sa may Las Piñas, Parañaque. Dami namin nakuha including mga baby diapers. So ngayon with the EPR law, yung mga nagpo-produce na to, obligado silang i-retrieve yung mga yon or i-minimize na nila at source. So yung packaging nila, baguhin nila siguro. So yan.
Thank you po, Director. Time check po, it's already 11:13 a.m. Last call na po sa mga gusto pang magtanong from the consumers or private sectors. Otherwise po, we will close the session na po. Ito po, meron po tayong na-receive from the chat box. from QFU Cigarri Sales. Hi ma'am, meron po program ang NEDA na pwedeng ma-convert ang waste or etc. na maging products or pwedeng livelihood for co-op members po?
Right now, yung nabanggit ko kanina, meron kaming dito parang bin kung saan ginagather namin yung clean and dry plastic waste. Pero hindi siya for livelihood eh. Yung Green Ants, yung naging kapartner namin, kinukuha nila sa amin yung plastic waste and they turn it into parang eco bricks, construction materials. Pero right now, wala kaming livelihood program that will do this. Siguro, baka ang LGUs, pwede silang makaisip ng mga ganyan. Alam ko sa Quezon City, meron sila yung parang tingi-tingi. Instead of selling, halimbawa yung, di ba sa palengke, you notice, yung mantika, naka-package siya ng tingi-tingi, nasa plastic. Parang plastic lang siya na disposable. Pero sa Quezon City, they have this store na pwede kang bumili, you just bring your own container. So yung mga ganon. And meron din na private na nagbebenta rin ng mga shampoo, yung mga fast-moving items, mga shampoo. But you need to bring your own lalagyan.
Parang refilling station din po siya.
Oo. Parang somewhere sa may, I'm not sure, Maginhawa. Tama ba yun? Basta sa Quezon City meron sila. Both yung government at saka may private din na nagbebenta ng ganang refilling stations.
Thank you po, Director. And for our last question po, napakalawak po ng konsepto ng SCP. Bilang isang consumer, paano ko po sisimulan maging sustainable?
Okay, mga tipid tips. Yun nga, yung sinabi ko kanina, imbes na mag-ano tayo, Vikings, mag-ano na lang tayo, mag-a la carte. Kasi ang tendency pagka yung mga unli-unli na ganon, we tend to get a lot of food tapos di naman mauubos. So that's one. Pangalawa, yung sa pagbili natin ng damit, mix and match, ako ina-adapt ko yun sa sarili ko. Meron lang akong a few items, you mix and match, parang marami kang damit, pero sa totoo hindi. Konti lang yung binili mo. So yun, that's one. Tapos yung pagbili mo rin ng mga gamit, for example, yung sapatos, yun nga, sabi ko kanina, bibili ka ng cheap versus yung medyo mahal. Ako, mas mahal na, komportable yung paa mo, magagamit mo siya ng taon. Kesa yung saglit lang, yon. Tapos yung mga, sorry for the term, nabubudol lang sale sa mga Lazada, Shopee, ganyan, di ba? 10-10. Malapit na ang 10-10. Ay, today pala yun. Tama?
Yes, today po.
Oo. Ayun, siguro lang, konting renda lang sa paggastos at pagbili kasi nakaka sort of addicting din yung pagbili-bili, di ba? Ano lang, pindot-pindot ka lang eh. But then you realize later on na, ang dami ko na palang nabili tapos hindi ko pala magagamit. Guilty rin ako niyan dati, pero hindi na ngayon. Nagbagong buhay na.
Sige po. Thank you po, Director. Maraming salamat po sa mga nagtanong at mga magtatanong pa. Thank you po for answering all the questions, Director. We hope natutunan po ng ating mga participant kung paano maging isang sustainable consumer. Before we close the session po, we would like to request Director Nieva Datoral to give a short message po to our participants and to share with them NEDA's contact details para sa kanilang other concerns po.
Okay, so yun lang siguro. Yung nga kasi yung pinaka-essence o center ng PAP for SCP is behavioral change. And behavioral change starts with our own selves. So, yun kami nga dito sa NEDA, magyayabang daw ako, na-awardan kami ng Community Service Award sa mga pinagagawa namin yon. So, yung plastic waste, tapos yung composting, yung bokashi nga, binibigay namin sa urban garden ng Barangay San Antonio. So yung ganon, it can start small, hindi kailangang maging ambitious. Sa loob ng bahay natin, like ako, nung nag-lockdown kasi naging plantita ako eh. So yung food waste namin, kinonvert ko siya into compost at hinalo ko siya sa garden soil at mas maganda yung naging labas ng mga halaman ko. So, mga ganun, mga simple things lang. It doesn't need to be parang may wow factor. No? Yun lang. For contact details, can you flash, Jessa, yung ating contact details? Kung meron po kayong concerns or questions, you can contact us here. Kung malapit naman po kayo sa Ortigas area, you can visit us anytime. Pwede nyong tingnan yung aming plastic waste bin at saka yung bokashi, how we do it. Pwede po kaming magturo sa inyo.
Thank you po, Director Natural, and thank you again to NEDA. Before we close the session po, we would like to once again invite our participants to subscribe to our DTI 1384 SMS upang makatanggap ng important reminders and updates mula sa DTI Consumer Protection Group for free. Scan lang ang QR code na nakalagay sa inyong mga screens. Again, this service is free of charge. This is to formally close our webinar for today. Muli, maraming salamat sa ating very capable speaker from NEDA, Director Nieva Natural. Bilang sustainable consumer, tandaan na mayroon tayong 7 R's ng sustainable consumption na nagsisilbing gabay sa pagbili, paggamit at pagkonsumo. Ito ay ang rethink, refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose, recycle, and repair. Ugaliing isipin muna ang bawat kilos na gagawin kung makakatulong o makakasira ba ito sa ating kalikasan. Maging Gen S na. At mula po sa Consumer Protection Group, maraming salamat po sa ating mga participants na nakasama natin ngayong umaga. Huwag niyo pong kalimutang samahan kaming muli sa aming mga susunod na webinars. Our announcements will be posted in our social media accounts. For more updates, please like, follow, and subscribe to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube accounts. DTI Consumer Care, DTI 1384, and DTI Philippines. Also, kindly accomplish and submit the survey form para makakuha din po kayo ng link at para ma-download ang presentation na ginamit ngayong umaga. Thank you so much everyone and happy Consumer Welfare Month.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you po.
Para sa ating mamamayang Pilipino, para iwas daya dapat wais at alisto. Mainam maging mapagmatsyag at mapanuri tayo. Palakasin ang boses ng ating mga consumer. Dapat tama bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat. Tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 4109, for Consumer Care at iba pa, tayang 1384.
Ipalaganap, karapatan at tungkulin. Kaalamang tama sa consumer ibahagi. Tulay sa kaunlaran, kalakalan ay palakasin. Ito ang pagbabago para sa ikabubuti natin. Dapat produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat, tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 4109, for consumer care at iba pa, tayang 1384.
Dapat tama, dapat tapat, mula sa DTI ito.